The sonar ping echoed through the depths of the Pacific Ocean, bouncing off something that shouldn't exist. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her equipment readouts aboard the research vessel Nautilus, her dark eyes narrowing at the impossible data before her. 12,000 feet below, in the Mariana Trench, lay a perfectly geometric structure that defied all natural formation patterns. Dr. Chen, her research assistant, Marcus Wong, leaned over her shoulder. "Those readings can't be right." "They've been consistent for the past hour," Sarah replied, adjusting her thick-rimmed glasses. "Whatever's down there, it's definitely artificial." She pulled up a three-dimensional rendering of the sonar data. The structure appeared to be a perfect dodecahedron, each face measuring exactly 100 meters across. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Within 48 hours, the site was swarming with research vessels from a dozen nations. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, and the International Deep Tech Recovery Initiative, IDTRI, was formed with unprecedented speed. Sarah found herself appointed as lead scientist of the recovery operation. 3 months later, she stood in a pressurized observation chamber, watching as remote-operated vehicles carefully cleared sediment from what appeared to be an entrance portal. "Energy signatures are stable," reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's quantum physicist. "Whatever power source they used, it's still active after God knows how long." The first breakthrough came when they managed to activate what appeared to be an environmental control system. The structure began clearing itself of seawater, creating a breathable atmosphere within its chambers. The engineering team was baffled by the technology. It seemed to defy the basic laws of physics. Sarah led the first physical exploration team into the facility. As they passed through the decontamination chamber, their helmet-mounted cameras transmitted every detail back to the surface. The interior was pristine, as if it had been sealed yesterday rather than lying dormant for millennia. "Look at this," Dr. Hassan Abbas, their xenotechnology specialist, called out. He stood before a wall covered in shifting, iridescent patterns. "It's responding to our presence. This isn't just a base, it's alive." The patterns coalesced into recognizable shapes, star charts, mathematical equations, and what appeared to be DNA helixes, but with structures unlike anything found on Earth. As the team progressed deeper into the facility, they discovered chambers filled with technology that defied comprehension. Devices that manipulated gravity as easily as turning on a light switch, energy sources that drew power from what appeared to be quantum fluctuations, and most intriguingly, interfaces that seemed designed for direct neural connection. This wasn't abandoned, Sarah realized, studying the layout of the facility. This was left for someone to find. "We're looking at a technological legacy." The confirmation of her theory came in the central chamber. A holographic message activated as they entered, displaying a series of images that told a clear story. The facility had been built by a species that called themselves the predecessors. They had seeded countless worlds with similar outposts, waiting for civilizations to reach the technological sophistication to find them. But the message carried a warning. The predecessors hadn't just disappeared. They'd been hunted to extinction by another species, the Orcs, who believed themselves to be the only race worthy of advanced technology. The outpost contained everything humanity would need to defend itself, but time was running out. "Dr. Chen," the voice of Admiral Zhang came through her comm unit. "We're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system at FTL speeds. They're on an intercept course with Earth." Sarah looked at the holographic display, watching as it showed the destruction of world after world by the Orcs. Then she noticed something peculiar in the neural interface designs. They were surprisingly simple, almost crude compared to the rest of the technology. They didn't account for human consciousness, she whispered, a plan forming in her mind. "Our brains are more complex than they anticipated. We can do more with this technology than they ever imagined." She turned to her team, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We have work to do. Humanity just inherited the keys to the kingdom, and our first test is coming sooner than we thought." As they rushed to understand and adapt the alien technology, Sarah couldn't help but smile at the irony. The predecessors had created these outposts as a gift to help young civilizations grow. Instead, they might have just given humanity the tools to succeed where they had failed, to stand against the Archons and survive. The race against time had begun, and Earth's future hung in the balance. But for the first time since the discovery, Sarah felt truly hopeful. History had shown time, and again that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt, to take existing ideas and transform them into something new. Now they would prove it on a galactic scale. Major James Crawford had faced death before, but never quite like this. He lay in the modified interface chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing his neural patterns. The alien technology hummed with an otherworldly resonance that made his teeth ache. Through the observation window, he could see Dr. Chen and her team monitoring his vital signs. Neural synchronization at 20%, Dr. Tanaka announced. Holding steady, James closed his eyes, focusing on maintaining the connection. The alien interface felt like trying to thread a needle while wearing boxing gloves, clumsy, frustrating, and potentially dangerous. The first 3 test subjects had suffered seizures. The 4th was still in a coma. "We're missing something," Sarah muttered, studying the data streams. The neural patterns displayed on her screen showed unusual fluctuations. "Major, I want you to try something different. Instead of focusing on controlling the interface, just let your mind wander." James raised an eyebrow, but complied. He thought about his childhood home in Colorado, the smell of pine trees after rain, the way his mother's lasagna tasted on Sunday afternoons. The holographic displays suddenly flared with activity. Neural synchronization jumping to 40%, Tanaka reported, excitement creeping into her usually calm voice. 50%, 60%. The sensation changed. Instead of fighting against the interface, James felt it adapting to him. The alien presence in his mind shifted from an intrusive force to something more organic, more natural. Images began flowing through his consciousness. Star maps, weapon schematics, tactical data, but rendered in ways that matched his thought patterns rather than forcing him to adapt to theirs. "Remarkable," Dr. Abbas breathed, watching the displays. "The interface isn't just translating the data anymore. It's restructuring itself to match human neural architecture." Sarah leaned forward, her eyes bright with understanding. The predecessors built this technology to be logical, structured, predictable. But human consciousness is anything but. We don't think in straight lines. We think in metaphors, emotions, interconnected webs of memory and imagination. James barely heard them. He was too absorbed in the sensation of his mind expanding, reaching into spaces he never knew existed. The alien database wasn't just a collection of information. It was a living library that responded to his thoughts, anticipating his questions before he could form them. Neural synchronization at 85%, Tanaka announced, breaking all previous records. Then James found something that made his heart skip a beat. "Dr. Chen," he called out, his voice tight with urgency. "You need to see this." The data he'd accessed revealed the true nature of the Archon threat. They weren't just conquerors, they were harvesters of consciousness itself. Each civilization they destroyed had its collective knowledge and experience absorbed into their neural network. But there was a fatal flaw in their system. Their network can't handle chaos. James explained, the interface translating his understanding into visual displays. They can absorb knowledge, technology, even memories. But human consciousness is too unpredictable, too creative. We'd be like a virus in their system. Sarah quickly grasped the implications. That's why they're coming. Their long-range scans must have detected our neural complexity. We're not just a threat to their dominance. We're a threat to their entire way of existence. The next few weeks saw a rapid advancement in the neural interface program. More volunteers were brought in, each achieving higher synchronization rates than the last. The technology was adapted into combat systems, vehicles, and defense platforms. But more importantly, they began to understand its true potential. "We're not just using their technology," James explained during a briefing with military leadership. "We're evolving it." The interface adapts to each individual's unique thought patterns, creating something entirely new. The predecessors built tools. We're creating extensions of human consciousness itself. Sarah watched as James demonstrated the capabilities, effortlessly controlling multiple defense systems simultaneously through pure thought. But it was more than just control. The systems were learning, adapting, becoming more human in their responses. "The Archons won't expect this," she told Admiral Zhang. "They've spent millennia absorbing the knowledge of logical, predictable species. But humanity—" She smiled, watching as James orchestrated a complex battle simulation with the casual ease of a conductor leading an orchestra. "Humanity is anything but predictable." As the first wave of Archon ships entered the outer solar system, Earth's defenders prepared for battle. The neural interfaces had been distributed globally, linking thousands of operators into a vast network of human consciousness augmented by alien technology. But unlike the rigid, hierarchical network of the Archons, this one thrived on chaos, creativity, and the beautiful unpredictability of human nature. James felt it as he took his place in the command center. The combined potential of human imagination merged with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. The Archons were coming to harvest their consciousness, but humanity had a surprise waiting. Sometimes, he mused, the most dangerous predator was the one that looked like prey. "All neural interface operators, prepare for synchronization." Sarah's voice echoed through the command center. "Let's show them what human creativity can really do." The Archon ships appeared like obsidian shards against the starfield, their angular forms defying conventional physics as they decelerated near Mars' orbit. Earth's combined neural network lit up with activity as thousands of operators processed the incoming data. Sarah stood in IDTRI's central command, watching as holographic displays showed the approaching fleet. "They're bigger than we anticipated," she murmured, noting the largest vessels measured nearly 20 kilometers in length. "Size isn't everything," James responded from his neural interface pod. Through the network, he could feel the collective consciousness of Earth's defenders, a symphony of human thoughts and emotions merged with alien technology. "They're broadcasting something." The message came as a burst of pure data, designed to interface directly with neural systems. In an instant, humanity learned the true nature of their adversaries. The Archons weren't just a species. They were a collective consciousness spanning thousands of absorbed civilizations. Primitive beings, the message resonated through the neural network. "Your constelious and estes will be added to our own. Resistance is inefficient." Admiral Zhang smiled grimly. "Send our response, Major Crawford." James closed his eyes, channeling the combined creativity of thousands of linked human minds. Instead of words, they transmitted back a cascade of human experiences: children's laughter, the taste of ice cream on a hot summer day, the grief of lost love, the triumph of overcoming impossible odds. Pure, raw human emotion and imagination. The effect was immediate. The Archon fleet's formations wavered as their neural networks struggled to process the chaotic data burst. Several smaller vessels completely shut down, their rigid systems overwhelmed by the complexity of human consciousness. "Their weakness is their strength," Sarah realized, watching the data streams. "They've spent so long absorbing organized, logical minds that they've lost the ability to handle true creativity. Each civilization they consumed made them more rigid, more predictable." The first battle began near the moon. The Archons launched waves of autonomous combat units, each guided by their collective consciousness. Under normal circumstances, their technological superiority would have guaranteed victory. But humanity wasn't fighting a normal war. Neural interface operators worldwide began implementing impossible strategies. Fighter pilots merged with their aircraft, their human intuition enhanced by alien technology. Defense platforms moved in patterns that defied tactical logic, but proved devastatingly effective. Each human operator added their unique perspective to the battle, creating a constantly evolving defense that the Archons couldn't predict. "They can't adapt fast enough," James reported. His consciousness spread across multiple battle zones. "Their responses are becoming increasingly desperate." The Archons attempted to breach Earth's neural network directly, trying to force their way into human consciousness. But instead of the organized, easily absorbable minds they expected, they encountered the full spectrum of human thought. Dreams, fears, hopes, and impossibilities all twisted together in beautiful chaos. Sarah watched as the alien fleet's coordination began to break down. "They're experiencing consciousness shock," she explained to the command staff. "Imagine a computer trying to process poetry, or a logic gate attempting to understand love. We're not just defending ourselves. We're introducing them to aspects of existence that they've never encountered." The battle reached its crescendo when the Archons launched their final assault. Their largest vessel, a world ship carrying the core of their collective consciousness, moved to engage Earth directly. But humanity was ready. James led a coordinated strike that no tactical computer would have conceived. A combination of conventional weapons, adapted alien technology, and pure human improvisation. Thousands of neural interface operators poured their consciousness into the attack, each adding their own unique perspective to the assault. The world ship's defenses, designed to counter logical attacks, couldn't adapt to the sheer unpredictability of human warfare. Where they expected calculated strikes, they received artistic chaos. Where they prepared for strategic advances, they faced emotional intuition. "Their consciousness is fragmenting," Sarah announced, monitoring the data streams. "The human elements we introduced are causing a cascade effect throughout their network. They're experiencing individual thoughts for the first time in millennia." The Archon fleet began to retreat, but not before broadcasting one final message. Not a threat this time, but something closer to awe. They had come to absorb what they thought was a primitive consciousness, only to encounter something beyond their comprehension. As the alien ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, humanity was left with a profound realization. They hadn't just defended Earth. They had demonstrated a fundamental truth about consciousness itself. The very chaos and creativity that the Archons had dismissed as primitive had proven to be the most advanced form of existence in the galaxy. Sarah found James after the battle, still processing the implications of what they'd achieved. "We didn't just survive," she said softly. "We taught them something about what consciousness can be." James nodded, feeling the global neural network humming with potential. "The question is, what do we do now? We have their technology, their knowledge, but more importantly, we have something they never understood: the power of human imagination." The stars seemed brighter that night as humanity looked to the future with new eyes. They had inherited the legacy of the predecessors, but they would forge it into something entirely their own. The age of human creativity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after the Archon retreat, humanity stood at the brink of an unprecedented evolutionary leap. The orbital shipyards, constructed using adapted predecessor technology, hummed with activity as the first human-designed starships took shape against Earth's backdrop. In IDTRI's primary research facility beneath the Pacific, Sarah examined the latest neural interface data. The holographic displays showed something remarkable. Human consciousness was evolving. The merge with alien technology hadn't just given humanity new tools. It had unlocked hidden potential within the human mind itself. "The changes are accelerating," she explained to the UN Security Council's virtual assembly. "Each generation of neural interface operators shows increased cognitive capacity. We're not just using the technology anymore. We're growing beyond it." James, now director of Earth's defense grid, stood at the neighboring console. His neural implants allowed him to process multiple data streams simultaneously, coordinating global defense systems with a thought. "Show them the Titan project," he suggested. Sarah nodded, bringing up the schematics for humanity's most ambitious undertaking. The Titan was more than just a starship. It was a living extension of human consciousness, designed to be crewed by thousands of neural interface operators working in perfect harmony. The predecessors built their technology to be used. Sarah continued. The Archons built theirs to consume. But humanity, we've learned to grow with it, to evolve alongside it. The Titan represents the first step towards something entirely new. Across the globe, similar transformations were taking place. Cities were being rebuilt with integrated neural networks, allowing citizens to interact with their environment in unprecedented ways. Children born after the Archean conflict displayed natural abilities to interface with technology, their developing brains adapting to humanity's new reality. But with evolution came challenges. The first sign of trouble appeared in the Mars colony, where a group of enhanced operators began developing abilities that bordered on the supernatural. They could manipulate matter at the quantum level, communicate across vast distances without technology, and access realms of consciousness that defied traditional physics. We're approaching a singularity, Dr. Tanaka warned during an emergency session. The merger of human consciousness with advanced technology is creating something we can barely comprehend. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A 6-year-old girl in Singapore, one of the first children born after the neural integration began, drew a picture that captured the attention of every scientist in IDTRI. Her crayon drawing depicted humanity's consciousness as a vast, interconnected web of light, expanding beyond physical limitations. She sees it naturally, Sarah realized, studying the child's drawing. What we've been struggling to understand, the next generation intuitively grasps. We're not just evolving our technology. We're evolving into something beyond our current understanding of consciousness itself. James organized a global conference of enhanced operators, bringing together the brightest minds of the new age. In a vast neural network simulation, they began to piece together humanity's next step. The Archons had tried to absorb consciousness. The predecessors had tried to preserve it. But humans were doing something unprecedented. They were transcending it. Look at this, Sarah called out during one session, highlighting a pattern in the neural data. The human neural network wasn't just processing information. It was creating new dimensions of thought, expanding the very nature of consciousness itself. The Titan project was modified to incorporate these discoveries. When the massive vessel finally launched, it carried within it not just crew members, but a new form of human consciousness, one that existed simultaneously in physical space and in realms beyond traditional comprehension. As the ship moved beyond Earth's orbit for its first test flight, something extraordinary happened. The combined consciousness of its crew touched something vast and ancient, a layer of existence the predecessors had glimpsed but never reached, and the Archons had been too rigid to perceive. "We're not alone," James reported, his consciousness linked with the Titan's network. "There are others out here. Forms of consciousness so different from anything we imagined. The galaxy isn't just filled with life. It's filled with awareness." Sarah watched as the data poured in, each revelation more astonishing than the last. Humanity hadn't just survived its first contact with advanced alien civilization. It had discovered its true place in the cosmos. They weren't meant to be conquered by the Archons or guided by the predecessors. They were meant to forge their own path, to evolve into something entirely new. As the Titan continued its journey, Earth prepared for its new role in the galaxy. They were no longer just a species defending their home. They were pioneers of consciousness itself, ready to explore not just the physical universe, but the very nature of existence. The signal reached Earth on a quiet Tuesday morning, exactly 1 year after the Titan's historic launch. It wasn't transmitted through conventional channels, or even the advanced communication systems inherited from the predecessors. Instead, it resonated directly through the global neural network, carrying with it an echo of something ancient and profound. The Archons had returned, but they were changed. Sarah stood in the newly constructed Consciousness Observatory, watching as the massive holographic display showed the approaching Archon fleet. Unlike their previous angular, aggressive formations, these ships moved in flowing, organic patterns that seemed almost ceremonial. "They're different," James observed, his enhanced consciousness extending through Earth's defense grid. "They're neural signatures. They're evolving." The truth, when it emerged, was more extraordinary than anyone had anticipated. The cascade of human consciousness that had crashed through their networks during the first battle hadn't destroyed the Archons, it had transformed them. The chaos and creativity of human thought had shattered their rigid collective, forcing them to experience individual consciousness for the first time in millennia. "We come seeking understanding." The Archon message resonated through the neural network. "Your gift of chaos has awakened us." In orbit, the Titan project had evolved beyond its original design. The massive vessel now served as a nexus point between traditional space and what scientists had begun calling the consciousness dimension, a realm where thought and reality intersected in ways that defied conventional physics. Through this new medium, humanity and the transformed Archons began a dialogue unlike any in galactic history. It wasn't just an exchange of information or technology. It was a sharing of ways of being, of experiencing existence itself. "They're not the only ones who've noticed us," Sarah reported during an emergency council session. The Titan's explorations had detected multiple advanced civilizations watching Earth with growing interest. Humanity's unique approach to consciousness evolution had turned their small blue planet into a focal point of galactic attention. But the greatest discovery was yet to come. Deep within the consciousness dimension, human explorers found evidence that the predecessors hadn't been destroyed. They had evolved beyond physical form entirely. Their outposts weren't just technological legacies. They were seeds planted across the galaxy, waiting for a species capable of making the same leap. "We were never meant to just inherit their technology," Sarah realized, studying the ancient patterns hidden within the neural interfaces. "We were meant to complete their work." The transformation accelerated. Across Earth, the boundary between technology and consciousness began to blur. Children born into this new age didn't see a distinction between physical and mental reality. To them, consciousness was a tool as natural as breathing. The Archons, once bent on consuming all other awareness, became students of human chaos. Their rigid collective fractured into billions of individual minds, each experiencing the universe in unique ways. Some chose to remain in traditional form, while others followed humanity's path into new dimensions of existence. James led the first official expedition beyond known space, commanding a fleet of consciousness-enhanced vessels. They didn't just explore physical space. They mapped the very fabric of awareness itself, discovering layers of reality that the predecessors had only theorized about. "We're not just evolving technologically," he transmitted back to Earth. "We're evolving the very nature of evolution itself." A decade after the first Archon encounter, Earth had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a crucible of consciousness evolution where physical and mental reality merged and transformed. The planet glowed with neural energy visible from light years away, a beacon of creative chaos in an ordered universe. Sarah, her consciousness now existing partially in conventional space and partially in realms beyond, stood with James in the observatory. Below them, Earth pulsed with the combined awareness of billions of minds, each contributing to humanity's grand experiment in evolution. "The predecessors left us their technology because they saw something in us," she mused, her thoughts rippling through multiple dimensions. "Not our potential for logic or order, but our capacity for beautiful chaos." James nodded, his awareness extending through the neural network that now spanned several star systems. "We didn't just survive first contact," he said. "We showed the galaxy a new way to exist." As if in response, the consciousness dimension flickered with new activity, more ancient awareness stirring. Drawn by humanity's resonance, the universe, they were discovering, wasn't just stranger than they had imagined. It was stranger than they could have imagined. But that was exactly why humanity was uniquely suited to explore it. Their gift for chaos, their ability to dream and create, their talent for finding patterns in randomness and randomness in patterns, these weren't weaknesses to be overcome. They were the key to the next stage of cosmic evolution. The story of humanity's first steps into the galaxy wasn't just about survival or technological advancement. It was about showing the universe a new way to grow, to change, to exist. In the end, their greatest contribution wasn't the weapons they developed or the battles they won. It was the chaos they brought to an ordered cosmos, the creativity they sparked in rigid minds, and the dreams they dared to make real. As new civilizations made contact and old ones evolved, Earth remained at the heart of this consciousness revolution. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not by conquering or conforming, but by transforming the very nature of existence itself. The age of ordered consciousness was over. The age of beautiful chaos had begun.